Okay, here we go. Mr. Trutna, we're back. So this is Unit 11. Let's make sure you can see it. There we go. This is Worksheet 3B. You were assigned to do numbers 1 through 6. And keeping with tradition, I'm just going to do the odd numbered problems. So I'm going to do 1, 3, and 5. Okay, so in number 1, or 1 through 6 actually, we're going to be simplifying. So in number 1, you can see that it is an addition problem. So remember, when you have an addition problem or a subtraction problem and there's parentheses, the first thing you want to do is you want to rewrite the problem without the parentheses, and the way that you do that is you distribute the number in front of each parentheses, which in the case is a 1. So I'm going to go 1 times 2, which is 2, and then I'm going to go 1 times positive 5i, which is positive 5i. So the first parentheses becomes 2 plus 5i. I'm going to do the same process with the second parentheses. Positive 1 times 6 gives me positive 6. Positive 1 times negative 7i gives me negative 7i. Okay, so now that we've rewritten the problem without parentheses, my next step is I'm going to combine like terms. So let's go ahead and start with the 2. Is there any numerical value that's a like term with the 2? There is. There's the positive 6. We combine those together and we get 8. Okay? Then we're going to go to the positive 5i, and we're going to combine that with the minus 7i. Those are like terms, and that combines to make negative 2i. Okay, now you cannot combine the 2i with the 8 because this 8 does not have an i. So number 1 answer is 8 minus 2i. Okay, all right, number 3, the next problem would be number 3. We're multiplying now negative 3i times 12i. So the first thing we do is we multiply the coefficients, the numbers in front of the i's. Negative 3 times 12 gives me negative 36. And then the second thing we do is we're going to multiply the i's together. So what's I times I? Remember, each of these i's have an exponent of 1. So you multiply them together and you get I to the second power. Okay, now remember, whenever you have an I to the second power in an expression, you have to replace I to the second power with negative 1. That's the rule. So the imaginary number I to the second power is always equal to negative 1. So this problem means negative 36 times I squared, which turns into negative 36 times negative 1. So number 3 is equal to positive 36. Okay, moving on to the last one, number 5. So in number 5, we're multiplying the binomial 6 plus 4i times the binomial 5 minus 2i. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to draw the rectangle. We called this the magic rectangle in class, and we use this strategy to multiply a binomial times a binomial. Along the top, write the 6 and write the plus 4i, and go ahead and put the plus symbol right next to the 4i so you know that's going to be a positive 4i. And then along the left side, write the 5 and write the minus 2i. Okay, now I'm going to divide the rectangle down in half vertically, and I'm going to divide the rectangle in half horizontally. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to use multiplication, because this is a multiplication problem, and I'm always going to multiply the left side times the top side of each rectangle to fill in each of the 4 rectangles. So the top left rectangle, I would go 5 times 6. So the top left rectangle becomes 30. To fill in the top right rectangle, I'm going to go this side, which is 5, multiply it by this side, which is positive 4i. 5 times 4i is 20i. Okay, to get the bottom left rectangle, I'm going to go the left side, which is negative 2i. I'm going to multiply it by the top, which is 6. Negative 2i times 6 is negative 12i. And then to fill in the bottom right rectangle, I'm going to go its left side, which is negative 2i. And I'm going to multiply that by the top, which is positive 4i. And when I multiply that together, I'm going to get negative 8. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, and then I times I is I to the second power. Okay, so remember then, your answer is going to be the combination of all 4 of the rectangles added together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all 4 of these pieces together. So that means number 5 would be equal to 30 plus 20i plus negative 12i plus negative 8i squared. Okay, and that would be your final answer if and only if you can't combine anything together. Well, you can see right away that there's nothing to combine the 30 with because everything else has an I or an I squared in it. So I'm going to leave the 30 as 30. However, you should be able to see that I can combine the positive 20i with the minus 12i. So that would, when I combine these, that gives me a positive 8i. And then you should recognize that in the last part here I have an I squared. And just like we talked about in number 3, anytime you see an imaginary number to the second power, I squared, you have to replace it with a negative 1. So this last part would become plus negative 8 times, instead of I squared, it's negative 1. Now we can multiply that out. So then my problem's going to become 30 plus 8i plus, and then negative 8 times negative 1 is 8. Okay, and then lastly, I can combine the 30 and the 8 together to make 38 plus 8i, and that would be my solution to number 5. And I cannot combine the 8i with the 38 because that 38 has no I.